Many Canadians have children who are nearing the end of their post-secondary education, and they may be holding on to RESP account balances and wondering what they should be doing with them. For example, their child's education costs may have been less than they anticipated, their student may have saved through part-time work while they were in school, or they may have received scholarships and bursaries that more than covered their education costs. In this video, I'm going to walk through some of the options to effectively use up leftover RESP account balances. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Mark Walhout, and I created this channel to share ideas and concepts that I'm using to help people with retirement every day. If you want to get more videos like these, consider subscribing to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you're alerted when new videos are posted. To help us illustrate the options, let's start with our sample couple, Janey and Janey YouTube. They have a 22-year-old son named Jack who is finishing his final year of university. All of Jack's expenses have either been paid or planned for through other funding sources, including part-time work and a scholarship. Janey and Janey have an individual RESP account with Jack named as beneficiary with $50,000 still remaining in it. The $50,000 account balance is made up of $30,000 of their own contributions, $15,000 of growth, and $5,000 of Canada Education Savings Grant contributions from the government. They also have another daughter, Jill, who is 19 years old and entering her second year of university. They have a separate individual RESP account set up for Jill. They each have unused RRSP contribution room of $10,000, and they also each have unused tax-free savings account contribution room of $15,000. So let's walk through the options that Janey and Janey have for Jack's RESP account. Option number one is that they can transfer the RESP account balance to Jill. As long as Jill is not at or over her own personal lifetime RESP grant limit of $7,200, they can move the assets in Jack's RESP account over to Jill's RESP account. Recall that there are $5,000 of unused grants inside of Jack's RESP, so they will need to check with Jill's RESP promoter to confirm how much she has received in Canada Education Savings Grants in her lifetime before transferring those assets over to her RESP account. Jill also must be under the age of 21 at the time that the RESP assets are transferred over to her account, and we established earlier in the video that Jill is 19 years old, so she checks on the age front that she's under the age of 21. And since Jill still has a few years of university ahead of her, this is likely the optimal strategy to the extent that she still has room to take over the Canada Education Savings Grants from Jack's RESP. Let's assume for the moment that there's no room to transfer Jack's RESP account balance to Jill. Now we can look at collapsing the RESP account. And step one of that process will be the withdrawal of their original contributions. RESP contributions to the account can be withdrawn by the subscriber at any time for any reason. Jack and Jill can simply make a withdrawal of their $30,000 of contributions and use them for any purpose at all. Since they both have adequate TFSA contribution room, they may decide that they want to earmark that $30,000 for their long-term savings, so they could simply use the withdrawn contributions to top up their tax-free savings accounts if they so choose. Step two is the removal of the growth portion in the RESP accounts and moving them to their RRSPs. RESP subscribers are allowed to move up to $50,000 of RESP growth to their RRSP accounts provided that they have adequate RRSP contribution room. Janey and Janey can move the $15,000 of growth in the RESP account to their RRSPs, provided that they are joint subscribers to the plan. The beneficiary must be over the age of 21 if this option is chosen. The intent, after all, for an RESP account is for school, so allowing for people to trigger this option sooner would sort of go against the spirit of why the account was set up in the first place. Jack is age 22, so he checks that box. And then finally, the grant portion of the account must be returned to the government if the plan is collapsed and the funds are not used for education purposes. So the final option is that we can make a withdrawal for Jack anyways, even though he doesn't need the money, or we can hold on to the RESP account and wait and see what happens. So if we've collapsed the account, recall that Jack and Jill have removed their $30,000 of contributions. They've moved $15,000 of growth to their RRSPs, leaving behind $5,000 of grants to either go back to the government or be spent by Jack. And just because Jack doesn't need the money for his school doesn't mean that it has to go back to the government. All that's needed for a withdrawal of grants or growth from the RESP account is proof of enrollment in a post-secondary education program, not a specific invoice to map that withdrawal against. They can request a $5,000 withdrawal of grants, also known as an education assistance payment, as long as they have Jack's proof of enrollment handy. The $5,000 EAP withdrawal can be taxed in Jack's hands in this case. Of course, this alternative is better than Jack losing the grant and having it paid back to the government, and it's also ideal that the grant can be taxed in Jack's hands at a lower average tax rate than that of his parents, Jack and Jill. And then finally, Jack and Jill can simply hold on to the funds in the RESP account and wait and see what happens. Assuming that the account was opened when Jack was born, the account can remain open until he's 36 years old. Jack may go on to do some other type of postgraduate study. The range of programs that are eligible for RESP withdrawals is lengthy, so they may decide that they want to go ahead and wait and see with the RESP account. Unfortunately, the leftover RESP scenario is pretty common. Many RESP savers have a hard time spending from their accounts, and when they do make withdrawals, their strategy is less than optimal. While every situation is different, here are some ideas that can help you avoid the last-minute rush to use or lose RESP account balances. Number one, utilize growth and grants in the account during the early part of your child's university. Growth and grants are taxable in the child's hands, and by using this portion early, you leave yourself more flexibility to either use up or withdraw the contribution portion later without penalty. Number two, once your child is enrolled and past their first term of school, you can make larger withdrawals from your RESP account even if your student doesn't need the money. All that's required to make an EAP withdrawal of growth and grants is proof of enrollment. After the first 13 weeks, the limit on EAP withdrawals is around $28,000 per year in 2024. So if you're beyond the first semester and enrolled, you can make EAP withdrawals of up to $28,000 each year without having to justify the expense to the government. And number three, be patient. 36 years is a long time. If your child is indicating that they won't go to school, or if they have already graduated, even if there's a hint that they may pursue education further, there is a good chance that the RESP account can be used down the road. If you want to learn more about the ins and outs of RESPs, my friend Marcus Muse keeps an excellent RESP wiki page on his blog that talks about how the account works, optimal contribution strategies, decumulation strategies, and much more. I highly recommend you check it out. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel and hit the bell icon so you're alerted when new videos are posted. Leave your questions and comments below. Thanks, and I'll speak with you soon. Take care.